Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Small Market REI. So I got my co-host here, Travis Goodwin. I'm David Dean, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how do we get started? Ways to get started in this business. I mean, there's several different ways, but uh, Travis, just tell us what you think is the best few ways to get started day one in this business.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, we're killing it with these video ideas, I'm telling you. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to get started, like David said. I think it's really going to depend on what your end game is, you know. Some people want to just make a bunch of money, so you might want to flip houses, right? Some people want cash flow every month. You might want to become a landlord. I'd say the number one way to get started and the way that I would recommend is by wholesaling. Um,
Mhm.
but that pretty much is just the art of finding a deal. You know, if you can wholesale and you know how to find deals, then you can do all everything else that I just said. You can eventually become a landlord, you could flip houses. So I think wholesaling is the best way to get started, in my opinion. Now, in some markets, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because they're changing the laws on assignments of contracts. So you got to make sure that, you got to check with your state laws and speak with an attorney to make sure that that's something that you can do where you're at. But as long as it's legal, you can go out there and find as many deals as you want. You never have to buy the property. You just go under contract with a due diligence period. And during that due diligence period, you're going to find somebody like David who's buying houses, and you're going to assign that contract to him for an assignment fee. And you don't ever have to, it lowers your risk. You're not buying the property yourself, and you really get to learn the market. Um, you could also, be a real estate agent. What do you think, David? What's some good ideas?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can be an agent. I mean, that's how I got started in the business. Is it was a normal progression for me from being an agent, and there was a guy or two that would buy real estate in the towns that I would work in, and you know, I'm brokering a deal, and I'm looking at these deals that these guys are doing. I'm like, hey, man, it looks pretty good. I think I need to get in on that. I need to figure it out. And so, that's kind of what piqued my interest to get into the real estate investment space was to watch these guys and what they were doing. And some of them were building houses, some of them were one of them was just, buying fix up. And, I kind of predate myself as I go back before flipping. That wasn't a word back when I started in the business. We fixed them up, sold them. I mean, we didn't know. And then all of a sudden one day people say, "Oh, you're a flipper." And I said, "I'm a what?" They said, "You're a flipper." And I'm like, "What's a flipper?" And they told me, and I'm like, "Oh, well, maybe I am." And so all of a sudden, I guess it got popularized on HGTV, in the early days that was called flipping. So, um, so that's one thing. Being an agent, you do know a lot of motivated type sellers. That's wanting to get rid of it. Maybe you get calls from out of state owners, inherited properties, and so that is a good way to start in the business is to be an agent. Now, uh, it might not be my number one, but it is a good entry, and it teaches you the legal framework of how a deal works and what needs to be done from start to finish to handle a deal. So and I still have my broker's license to this day, and will always have them. So it's just part of it. Um, Another thing is probably a lot of people start maybe wanting to get into rentals, and that's probably the number one thing or the number one way I see people enter the investment space is through the rental. They start with well, usually, once again, I speak from my perspective only, but me, like so many thousands of other investors across the country, starts with Rich Dad Poor Dad. You know, we read that book and it just knocks all the wind out of us, and I'm just like, oh my God, I was already in the real estate business, but I wasn't, I was early in the business, but I wasn't thinking about assets, liabilities, and the cash flow, and how so many other types of real estate, even your personal residence, that's a controversial topic, but a lot of money flowing out is a liability, and the money flowing in is an asset. It's sort of like when a bank looks at your personal financial statement and they call cars, boats, and campers assets, and that always cracked me up because there's nothing about those to me are assets. But anyway, so people read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and they learn about the cash flow quadrant, and they go, "Oh my gosh!" And so that book by itself has inspired, probably millions of investors across the country to go out there and take action and buy their first property. And I'm one of those guys as well. I thought, man, you know, I got to do it. This is it. So, um, you know, but I'm gonna go back to where you was talking about wholesaling real quick. A lot of people that come into the business, it's called finding deals. Just find a deal, okay? And the old saying in the business is the deal finds the money. So if you got a good enough deal and you shop it around to two or three people that's invested, they're going to move on it. They're going to buy it. They're going to give you an assignment fee. I mean, that's just plain and simple. So find good deals like that, man, and do what other people don't want to do, and you'll find money. There's always men and women out there that's in this business that will jump right on it immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and not to
No question.
interrupt you,
Yeah.
real quick, I do say if you guys are watching other videos in bigger markets, they're going to tell you to get as many cash buy, like, get 1,000 cash buyers on your list. You do not have to worry about that in a small market. Like David said, just two or three good buyers, it's buying in that area. One of them's going to buy it from you and you're going to get your first deal. I just had to peek in and say that real quick.
Right. Now, talking about getting into the rental business, the big, that a lot of people start in the rental business, and I started sort of in the rental business as well. And everybody that starts in the business has the same problem. It's about the money. Got to have the down payment. And back in the day when I started in the business, gosh, it was, local bank, 20% down, you know, non-negotiable. That's just the way it had to be. So basically, I had to find a way, you know, to buy this, and I didn't have 20% down. So, um, you know, I used to go to a website back in the day called Cree Online, CRE Online. They're still out there. It's a gosh, it's been around for a long time, and that's I found this website. This is it's kind of in the early days of the internet back then, and I started reading, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I learned about this thing called creative finance, and carrying deals and land contracts here in West Virginia and all that stuff, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I felt like I'd struck gold, when I found that, and so that kind of became my early way of doing deals. And to this day, I still use it. And when I can get those terms, you know, I'm all in for sure. So anyway, that'll be the end of this video. We just wanted to give you a few ways that we think that will help you get started. And Travis, any closing comments?
No, man, just, like we always say, if you guys got any value out of this at all that we ask is that share it with a friend, like and subscribe, and just keep watching for us.
Okay, y'all. Thanks for watching. Like, follow, subscribe. Um, this is David Dean, Travis Goodwin. Thank you for watching.